Hello, everyone. My name is Rodney Veal, and welcome to Rodney Veal's Inspired By podcast. Today, I get to talk. It's like just like a gentle hug with a lovely, charming, talented individual who is just making some of the most compelling, hauntingly beautiful art and changing it all up and is on a really masterful artistic journey. Miss Kate Santucci. So, Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you. It's always just a total joy to talk to you. And that was
Ditto.
so kind. I feel like I'm like, oh,
Well, I never introduce people unless I really genuinely feel that way. It's like I try to stay in the lane of honesty about your work, and I think you're just a lovely
oh,
person. You really, really are.
thank
And so,
you.
and I was telling someone at lunch today. I said I'm talking to Kate Santucci, and I said we've known each other for a while.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
completely different circumstances, which I'm sure will
Uh-huh.
come up in the podcast. But
hmm
what I love is the fact that I get to kind of full disclosure, folks. Kate's studio is right next to where we film the art show, the broadcast
Yeah.
episodes of the art show at Front Street Art Studios.
hmm
And Kate is a wonderful neighbor, which is great. I can say I'm talking to
I
our
try.
neighbor. So,
Yeah.
so, Kate, I am super excited to talk about where it all began. That we
Where
got
it
to
all began.
we need to go. We're going way back because I'm
Okay.
just out of curiosity
Way back. Yeah.
because being an artist and being an artist myself and it starts it starts young and a lot
Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't think people really understand that, and I think every person we've talked to has talked about this. So
hmm
when did you discover at the young ripe age when you were a young girl, Kate,
When I was
about when did you envision being an artist? Was it like what hooked you?
Um, I mean, yes, it was pretty much always on my radar. When I was really young, I thought I wanted to be an interior designer, but I had like this fashion plate toy, and I mean, it was like always doing things like that, like just totally creative, into coloring, all the things that kids do. And I think that I want to say, like, I was maybe 12. I was 11. I was 11 because I was in the 6th grade, and I got put into one of those like classes for the bright kids classes. And so like one day a week I got taken out of my classroom and I went to this classroom with all these other kids, and they were like so intimidating. They were like, we were 11 and they're doing these projects on the binary system, and just like all of these math things and science things that are awesome, but I was just like so out of my place. I was so stressed out and so anxious about it that I spent my entire time like drawing on. They had these huge blackboards, and the teacher who taught that class stored all of his art stuff there. And
Yeah.
I made a mural across the entire blackboard, and then later discovered I made it with oil pastels, so it was a huge problem. Chalkboard.
Oil pastels on
But
chalkboard, not a
the
good
oil
thing. Yeah.
pastels on the chalkboard. But I remember that the instructor like talking to my mom and dad and being like, Kate kind of an anxious child, but she's definitely an artist. She's like artist smart. We're okay. But I didn't fit in with the smart kids class in the way that they were the smart kids. I was definitely always on that like
Really?
art path and painting, and he just let me. He was like, I have such fond memories of this guy because he was like, you are here to do what you need to do, and he let me all day just like fill this entire, and he knew it was oil pastel. Apparently he just let me do it, and I spent an entire year just making things in that class. So
Wow, that's the start of the oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
And it really because the thing is, that first moment just does impact you. And such
it
a,
does.
and it always and I love the fact that it was a teacher who said, I see where her gifts lie. Let her
Exactly.
just let her explore and be.
How fortunate to have that experience, because I think a lot of kids don't. It's just, maybe that's their inclination, but it's kind of tamped down. And I always have felt supported in that way. So like this teacher was amazing. My parents were great. They like They
I
had no
know.
idea. They were like, whatever, and I went to school. I started as in theater as a costume design major and spent 2 years in a theater program at Wright State, actually. Um,
Really? I didn't know.
mhm.
I honestly did not know that. I really did.
Yeah, that's my background. It's in costume design. I worked for the Dayton Ballet right after college for couple 2 years, a year and a half. I don't. It was right before I had my kids, so that's why I left.
So that would have been, what
So
year would that have been?
um, let's see. They were born in '97, so it was like 95, 96.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
So is it, who would have thought that our lives would intersect with through Dayton
Yeah,
Ballet? Because that's where I started dancing in the second company
right.
many moons ago before
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
oh
I
my
I was
gosh,
there.
you
So
were there.
I worked in the shop and building tutus.
Which,
And it was
let me tell you, people,
mm,
that is a
goodness,
thing. That is
it is.
there's a very specific way to build a tutu.
Oh, yes.
And I watched and observed. I mean, men don't wear tutus. We wear tunics with the jackets, but it was just, I would watch and I was like,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
how to make that work is, and I mean, did you kind of come in with that skill or did they train you up for it? Because I'm kind of curious because
um
it seems like
I
that's
kind
passed down like by
I mean,
generation
I
to
learned
generation.
how to make dance wear at Dayton Ballet. Like I had never really done that. Although I'd made stuff for theater department, I learned how to sew, I learned how to tailor. The first 2 years in theater in the design tech program at Wright State for costuming was very hands-on technical. So like I sew really well. I can sew, and then I moved. Yeah, I learned that hard skill there, and then at the Dayton Ballet, I learned how to, the specifics of making dance wear, which I hadn't done a lot of at Wright State. So yeah, that's my
Wow.
background is fiber arts for what first art, fiber arts, and then I left the design tech theater program after 2 years at Wright State and transferred to fine art. I felt like what I loved about the program was the creating and the thinking of the things,
Right, right.
and I didn't love work the actual work of theater.
Yeah, Rich, yeah,
The work of theater is very different than what the work of being on stage, like the backstage. I
that
was like,
is some
yeah,
grueling stuff backstage. I don't think people fully
yeah,
understand that. And yeah,
mm,
because you kind of touch on, like as a performer, you do kind of touch on it a bit. So you just kind of know you're standing there a long time while someone's fitting you. Then you come
yeah,
back and they're going to refit you.
hmm,
They're going to come back and they're going to refit you. And then I know that you spent the hours and hours because it has to be durable enough to last
oh yeah,
dancing in because it's,
hmm.
yeah, and so you got to put a lot of extra work into that process. I get it. I'm
Yeah,
with
I mean, it is very
shout out.
exciting though. I did love working actual shows because being backstage and being part of that magic is like that's very
Okay,
cool. That's
that's
very
pretty
cool.
cool.
That's really fun. But yeah, the hours
And
and hours and last minute panic and being at the shop until 2 in the morning to finish the thing. I was like, you know what? I don't love this.
I can only imagine.
I
I
don't
can't
love it.
even. No,
So
no.
yeah.
And so
Oh,
you do that switch over. So you stayed at Wright
mhm,
State for the
I
art
did.
department. I mean,
Yeah.
people. Every time I talk to people, because I've talked to quite a few people who've gone through Wright State through the
Mhm.
performing arts and also visual arts. That's a strong program.
It is, yeah. So let's see. I started in theater in '89,
Hmm.
and then I transferred in '91, and I graduated. I spent an extra year there. I graduated from Wright State in '94. And when I transferred over, my concentration was in sculpture because I was still very much in that like three-dimensional
Kind of
building
crafty,
things
building
mode.
things.
So yeah, when I graduated, I was doing stone and wood carvings. Like I mean,
Oh, I love
it's what,
this is what I love about my job. I get to find out and discover things. How do you, I'm like, so you went from
yeah,
what kind of stuff?
yeah,
Oh my gosh. So you
yeah.
just so you just kind of dove into that. And so obviously
Hmm.
with Dayton Ballet, it's a job, it pays the
It's a
bills. And
job, right?
yeah, it
Right. I
serves a
came.
purpose. Pays the
Hmm.
bills. You got kids. I totally get that.
Right. Yeah, I had to bow out when I had twins, and I was like, yeah. Mm.
Max and
I
Leo.
can't have them with me. Yeah, Max and Leo.
See, folks, this is the
Mhm.
interaction that I was talking about, because I taught Max and Leo and I choreographed for them at Sinclair Community College, where
Yeah,
they were students. So
yeah,
it's
they
kind of
got
like a
their
full circle. So we saw each other. It was really kind of funny. That's the funny part. Like we there's Rodney, there's Kate. Who knew that in 2026 we'd be sitting down for a podcast and talk about your art?
I know, it's kinda crazy. It's just, and when my kids came home from school, talking about their dance class, and they're not dancers, they are actors, and,
Yeah.
I think they're great, but they loved it. They were like, "Oh, Rodney's so great." And I was like,
I
"You
took it
met
like it's
Rodney multiple times."
so you've heard all about me. I was like, my reputation preceded me. I was like, I do admit that at least I made the classes fun. Because I
You
figured, like, you know
did.
what? I know this is not the easiest art form, and you're asking people who are not native to it to kind of do it.
Right.
I'm like, and I never
Mhm,
really understood. I understood it theoretically for theater, but
mhm.
man, that's
Yeah.
gotta play like. There's nothing worse than all of a sudden someone pushes the button and they go 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're like,
And you're like,
"Ah, ah."
oh, no."
So that's an awkward moment. So you're like, so the thing is, I love the fact that we had that intersection, and but
Yeah.
then it was like, but then Max and Leo graduated, and but then I would
Mhm,
see you in the art scene, because it was like, because you were.
mhm.
So did you kind of like, how did you transition into kind of um one, I'm kind of curious how you went from three-dimensional with sculpting and creating pieces, and what was exciting. Well, first, let me ask a
Mhm.
question. What was exciting about sculpting and creating? Because I'm not a 3D person.
Well,
In the
mhm.
sense of art, but I have 3D elements to my work, and I kind of always
Yeah.
skirt around it. And I'm always curious as to why people kind of gravitate towards three-dimensional.
For me, there was very much I'm very process oriented. So having something like physical in my hands that I can manipulate feels very like I just very natural to me. So like moving from the fiber arts like building costumes and sewing and doing that, and then thinking about how you're making art, but this that was art somebody could wear, and then this is like something that gives you the opportunity. It's like nobody's going to wear it. I don't have to worry about the little like it being functional, I guess. But it was just, I don't know, it was like a process of seeing something come out of it. And it was not, it was interesting because it was difficult for me. Um, I have a hard time thinking about three-dimensional things, like when I had to take a drafting class in theater, and we were asked to.
Oh,
It was like way back before CAD of any
oh,
sort.
oh,
So I
back in the
had
day,
right. It was your
people.
hand drawing projections, and we had to do this little exercise where you had this weird like cube thing with things sticking out of it at weird angles, and you had to draw it from without having it. It wasn't a real thing that you had to draw like from the top down, from the side, from the back, and mine were always just wrong. Just wrong. I like couldn't picture it. So like the transition from like visual, like my brain to reality is I have a hard time thinking about it, but I don't have a hard time making it. And it's hard to explain why. So like when I have the thing in my hands and I'm physically turning it
Yeah, and you're kind of
and moving it
manipulating it,
around.
and doing that
Right.
manipulation. It just
Hmm.
it's not. Because I don't want to abuse the word organic, because it's not organic, but it's just an intuitive. You just kind of, okay, because now it's
Hmm.
like it is manifest and real as material, but not necessarily its final form. If
Right.
that,
And
I get you, but that's the reason why I skirt around it, because I'm like, oh well.
yeah, it's hard to explain. I feel like, I mean, I was very attracted to the subtractive method. Like I was carving stone and carving wood. So I was taking chunks out of these like big pieces of soapstone and alabaster and things like that. And you can't put them back once you've taken a chunk out. So um it's kind of the moment. It's very like that, very process oriented, but watching something come out of this solid block of wood or stone is
Stoner.
magical. It's like,
So
yeah,
you
it's
so you're
been
not. So you weren't like visualizing, like I see the block and I go, I see the shape within the block. You just,
I usually just had to start. I mean, I had an idea, and that's kind of always the way I work. I have to
okay,
get something. I have to get something on the wood, on
material.
the canvas, on the like a chunk out of the stone. It's like, where are we going? And because of the process of sculpture, there was definitely, I was looking at the thing itself because there's flaws and there's chips and there's swirls of color in the stone, and it's like, well, what is that saying about, like, that needs to come out of there? So most of my work in that was always abstract. I was never trying to do any kind of like figurative work
For
or
creative work. But
yeah.
but even in the abstraction, you weren't sketching, or you weren't like,
No. Mm-mm.
oh, I'm so,
No.
that it warms my heart because I was like, I'm like the worst artist who doesn't sketch. I just couldn't. I just
Yeah.
don't. It's like, I don't. Yeah, it's like sometimes it's just intuitive with materials. You just kind of touch it. You go, you do it this
Yeah.
way, this will do this. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what
Right.
happens, and you
I
follow
think,
it.
yeah, you just kind of need to let it flow through you. I think mark making is, and like making art for me is that process of you. It's like I just need to start and let it lead me, and there's kind of a back and forth. It's like I might
Hmm.
see something start to emerge. It's like I'm going down that path now, and let it, become whatever it's becoming. Man, it feels like when I talk about stuff in this way, like she's like, what? What the heck?
No, but it's not. But it's not. But the thing is, I mean, that's why I love talking about art on the podcast because I want people, because a lot of people who listen to podcasts are not artists. Like
Oh, yeah,
we're
yeah.
and so they think kind of, I want to demystify so they understand, like, no, people, how you think artists create is not what it's not cookie cutter, because we're all different. I mean,
Oh, right. Yeah.
absolutely,
Very.
it's like, we're that, but also too, like, when we talk about it, you saw me moving my hands with you, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I understand it. I mean, I'm like, okay, that
Hmm.
makes sense. And you just kind of validated, thank God about not sketching, because I just feel like people go, you sketch work? I'm like, no, no, no.
No,
And I just
I
feel like I should be, but then I realized, nah, I don't need to.
I'm much more likely to scribble little snippets of thoughts and words down, sometimes even on the board or something before I
Really?
start, than I am to make a sketch. Like I do sketch, but not the pieces I'm working on. I don't
Oh,
make I sketch in a sketchbook because I feel like it's a skill I would like to
kind of,
continue to,
yeah. And I,
have
and,
and
and I,
develop.
tr- yeah, and I try to do it, but
Hmm.
it's not for the end product, like the end
Yeah.
result, to it journey, like the entry point to making the work,
Yeah. And I guess I should say, like, in the last few years, since I started exploring some figurative work, those that's kind of a two-part thing. So it's like whatever. It's my backgrounds and everything are very intuitive and very not thought out. And then the figurative part I do
So,
more planning for than I had in the past with other stuff.
that's good. That's like, it's a good kind of really great segue into this conversation about transitioning from three-dimensional work
Mm-hmm.
to the. So did you have a period when you went from that and you transitioned into the work that I've come to know you for?
Yeah.
Was there's
It
a
was
different kind? Was it just the paintings and the surfaces?
Yeah, it was kind of a sudden transition in a way because
Really?
I was home with my kids for a long time and I wasn't carving stone. I wasn't carving wood, because I was making like large pieces. I didn't have anywhere to do that. I didn't have a studio. I didn't have the spoons mentally to do anything else. And so I don't want to say that my world got smaller. It just got more focused and concentrated. I
Mm.
was like parenting and I was, like pretty house oriented and it was fine. It was a period of time that I went through, and then as my kids got older, I started doing little things that I could have with me. So like tiny drawings and sketches. And then I found this material, I can't even remember what it's called. It makes a total mess, but you can like scratch into it to make carvings, and I was making these little bas reliefs because I could stick them in my bag when we were out somewhere doing something, and I would
Oh,
Gosh, what is that stuff called? I don't
I, mean,
even
I can
remember.
see it, and I can't like on
It's
I
like
don't know
this
where.
orange color foamy stuff, like
Right, and
foam.
you kind of you scoop things, you
You can
really take it
carve
to,
it, right. So
and
I
you
could
can
do
kind
it
of
with,
scrape away
yeah.
from it. Yeah,
So I
but
made this
it's
little,
malleable.
right. I made this little series of bas relief carvings and did some stuff like that. And then I'm trying to remember how long ago it was now. I don't remember the year, at least 12 years ago. I went to a workshop in Michigan, up at the Krasel Arts Center in St. Joe's, Michigan. They had this weekend encaustic workshop. And I was like, you know what would be super fun? I'm just going to go because I had a really close friend who was the director of the Krasel. And I was like, hey, I'm going to come stay with you and take this workshop. I need a break. So I did. And in fact, I took my studio mate, Alicia Franz, went with me. I mean, it was years ago. We've been friends for years. And I was like, hey, let's go up to Michigan and do this workshop. And it's one of those things where like we had a great time. She had fun. I had fun. But for me, it like clicked. The medium was just like,
Oh,
oh, I love this. I loved everything about it. I loved the process. I loved the materials themselves. I loved the smell of it. I loved the way that it was sort of a combination of sculpture and two-dimensional media because it can be very textural and you can carve into it
mm-hmm.
and you can layer it, you can build it up and or you can do it really smooth and painterly. There's like a million things you can do with encaustic and it just really spoke to me. It spoke to me as a medium. And so I came home and I set up, like cleaned out a space I have this walk-up attic. I live in this old house and I cleaned out a space and I'm like, I am working up here and built a little studio, was making little tiny pieces as I figured out what I was doing and like spend a bunch of money. Like, but I'm gonna, although I have to say, as a getting started sort of a thing, you can do it without spending an insane amount of money. It was like a
But
hot
that was
plate and yeah,
yeah, but there was but that's sometimes
yeah,
we live and learn. Well, we do live
yes.
and learn. And I was but it was really interesting, like what in costume because for a longest time, I never really understood encaustic
Mhm.
until I saw your work, and then I saw Landon Crowell.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
And it was
Mhm.
like, oh, it was like the two of you literally opened my eyes to, oh, and so and I want people to understand what my it was like the material because a lot of people don't know what encaustic is. They think they know,
Oh
but they
yeah.
don't know.
Mhm.
Explain to them what the base material of encaustic is.
So encaustic is basically painting with beeswax. So it's a mixture of beeswax and a little bit of an ingredient called damar, which is a natural tree resin. So these two things are combined. It's like 85% beeswax generally, and the rest is damar, which is a hardener, and it raises the melting point so that it's not as delicate as just beeswax. Um, and you mix it together and you melt it and you add pigment to it and that is your paint. So it is
Wow.
used molten. So I have like basically like big griddles in my studio. You can buy really expensive like encaustic griddles, but why? I mean,
Why?
I for $30 you can buy a griddle, right?
Right.
And
Thrift stores are the best.
right, right. Oh yeah, totally. I have a couple from the thrift store. And little metal tins and my paint is in there and you use it at around 200 degrees. So it gets put on generally a wooden substrate, like a panel. And
Do you prime the wood panel?
there are encaustic primers, but I usually don't prime the panel because that first couple layers of medium that you put on there of the encaustic medium has no pigment in it. It's just clear and you brush it on there and then you fuse it with a torch. So it like
Yeah.
sinks in. I know the process is like so yummy. It's like
I
a torch.
a
Yeah.
blowtorch.
So you brush it on and then you melt it and with a torch and those first few layers sort of like sink into the wood panel and form a bond with
For a
it.
bond. So give you,
Mhm.
it almost like gives you kind of like a just uh
Right.
like a surface. Like it's a like
Yes.
it's almost
Yeah.
like you've primed it. Now you can really
Right.
go in
And
versus
you can use there is an encaustic primer, and it's just like a very porous primer because you need that wax to go into whatever you are painting. So you cannot use acrylic with encaustic at all because it's plastic. It's a barrier. It won't
it
it
won't
won't like
it
stick
won't
to it.
it won't
Right.
teeth. There's no teeth to the
There's
kind
no
of
teeth.
yeah
Right. You
yeah.
have to have that porous material. Um so, and also you're fusing with a torch. So if you've got encaustic over acrylic, then you're gonna basically be burning plastic under your wax. It's just that
That's doesn't sound like a recipe for
yeah,
healthy. That doesn't sound
no,
healthy. Doesn't.
toxic and nasty, and yeah. So, yes, like one of the things I just love about encaustic is that natural materials. My studio smells like honey and pine when I'm making paint. It's so lovely, and
That is, yeah, that is. I do notice that. I did
yeah,
notice that.
when I
When
have those on,
when
they're
you have it on, I go, that's like this smells good. I was like, oh,
uh-huh.
that's gonna
Yeah,
be.
it's nice.
And so you're working small in your attic,
Mhm,
and I remember
mhm.
the smaller works. What was it like? And they were beautiful. They're beautiful. They were beautiful works. And I was like,
Well,
oh,
thank
this
you.
is really she's in her thing. But then you went big.
Mhm.
What was it?
Well,
What was that transition like? Was it going big because you ended up in a studio space that wasn't your house, or did you start it in the
actually,
attic?
I started it in the attic, and it was because I decided on a whim to submit to the Reimagining Works program through the Dayton Metro Library where they
Oh
bought all
yes.
that art,
Uh-huh.
and, I got one. So I have pieces at the Southeast branch, and there's
Check them out.
3 foot by 4 foot paintings in there, that are like these constructions they're very sculptural, so it's hard to
Yeah.
describe, but like so they're mini paintings like mounted to larger paintings at different depths with these
Oh
panels
yes,
and
it
everything.
is.
And I got that commission, and that was really, really exciting and really terrifying because here I am in my 110-year-old house with a blowtorch in my attic, and I'm like, maybe this isn't the best move ever. So, uh,
That always kind of sets it up, doesn't it? Like, well, I should have a
yeah.
blow church in my house. so you,
So
so that's what
toward
started.
that's what started it. So towards the end of my finishing those commissions, I moved into a studio space at the Davis Linden building.
You were in the
Um,
same building. You were in the building with us. Well,
yeah,
we were. I think we were there at the same time.
I think so because it was where Elisha and I were before we moved into the Front Street space.
Yeah. So
So
you
yeah,
said so that was like that commission was really the kind of
yes,
you're on
and
your
then
way. Like
right,
this, yeah.
and then moving into a studio space outside of my house really gave me the leeway and this just the space, the physical space to do larger work. So I built a giant table, and I had wall space. Like my attic, I didn't even have any flat walls. It was all
A
four walls were
domer with
angled.
those angles,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Which
So it was really hard.
it's like, oh, and that's the other thing is too is like you, because I always think about that. I always think about the artist space. Like I would, the people don't understand. Artists need to be able to step back from the work
Yeah,
because
it's
some
huge to be able to do
because
that.
you're a lot of times you're so up close to it and as you're making that you need to step
Hmm.
back and really see its totality. Like, am I
Yes.
make these changes? And so you need space. And I think that
Hmm.
that's for our non-artists out there. This is
Yeah.
why artists need space.
You're right.
I'm trying to be an
I
advocate for more art spaces, more
oh,
space for
always.
artists, always
More
for more space
space.
to make the work.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I love the fact that it was the commission at the library, which
Yeah.
is
That
so.
was,
Who was your art? Because it's based upon wasn't that based upon an interpretation of a work at the Dayton Art Institute, kind of an
yes.
inspirational. So
So,
who was your artist that you were inspired by for
oh
that piece?
gosh, now I'm gonna have to, I'm like totally
Oh,
blanking on one of their names. So it was Georgia O'Keeffe was one of them. with
Mm,
purple oak leaves. There's this beautiful little painting at the GAI that
mhm.
and so that was one of them. And then the other one, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember. It's like I can describe the piece. It was like all these plexiglass panels that were sculptural and popped out like plexiglass boxes, glass that
Oh, I know. So that
you know,
yes, it is in the
yeah. Uh,
as you enter into the gallery space on the bottom floor.
yes.
I
And
know
I'm so
exactly, but I
embarrassed
don't
that I
remember the
can't
artist's name.
remember
So people go to the Day Art Institute if you're in Dayton.
how many
Go.
right. How many
So
times did I type that name and now it's just like gone, gone.
God, but it's okay though. It's okay, but
Yeah.
because so that's really interesting that those were the inspiration and in the
Yeah.
library space, and it's like, and I did you feel like that was the moment of saying, oh, I can go big, I can
Yes.
really immerse myself into this world? Was
Yes.
that the
Because
moment?
it was because it was a commitment to somebody else, first of all. And I struggle with like I need some deadlines, people. I need some like I am a like horrible procrastinator, very distracted by all the
All
things all the time.
time, everything,
Mhm.
everywhere, all at once,
Yes.
which is so
Yes.
true. You're a kindred spirit. I think every artist I've talked to, we're like, we are. Just tell us when you want it done. That of
Right,
force it
exactly.
compels us. Nothing better than a
Yeah.
gallery show that force you to get the work done,
Oh my gosh, yeah, and,
right?
like,
Because you
trying
could be
to
doing
find
it.
a show without a body of work being done, and you have to it's like, I really need somebody to be like, "Yes, we're gonna commit to giving you this space, giving you this show, otherwise I will never actually, totally, finally complete whatever it is." Like, I have to have that
You,
deadline.
I gotta have a deadline. We all do.
I'm Bonnie Miles, Membership Coordinator of CET. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and Think TV, two local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org.
If you're enjoying this conversation, The Art Show, also hosted by Rodney Veal, is available to stream anytime from anywhere on YouTube or the PBS app.
And so I love
Yeah.
the fact that that's what led to the big. I think that that's
Mhm.
kind of it. And the thing is, this whole notion of the caustic work, which, like I said, is so beautifully the scale of your encaustics and the haunting beauty of it. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you,
there's a
thank you.
hunt. There's a very literal, to me, underpinning to
Mm.
that hauntedness. And so, were you a voracious reader as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
I could totally tell by your work. I could totally tell. I'm like, she reads a lot. She's
I
really.
did, yes. Yeah, I would, oh my gosh, I think that I spent like a huge portion of my childhood immersed in Madeline L'Engle books, all of the Wrinkle in
Mhm.
Time, this childhood like science fiction, like, yeah, ethereal sort of
Yeah.
like thinking about weird stuff.
But
Yeah,
it
yeah,
but it kind of, I love the fact that it infuses itself into your work, and it shows up, and I could
yeah.
tell, but I never had a
Oh,
but I never had just to ask you about it. Isn't the weirdest?
oh,
I find it so weird
mhm.
that we never talk as artists about who we are, and that's why I wanted to do the podcast, like,
Yeah.
'cause like, yeah, the reading.
I
Oh.
Oh yeah, I it's that's huge, and that does like I feel like written and spoken word works itself into my work, like way more. Like I always feel a little guilty because I feel like I don't have the time or take the time to go and just immerse myself in museum settings and look at I do, but not often enough. But
Mhm.
I'm constantly like if I'm listening to a book, fiction, nonfiction, whatever, or because sometimes I'll listen to books when I work and sometimes
Oh,
music.
those are the voices I
Um,
hear of it next door.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking she's over there just having a party. Why was I not invited? Okay.
I
That
often
explains
I'm listening to
it.
something, um, and
Now
then
I
I'll
know.
stop it, and like the paper that's on my table or on the wall or whatever, I'll like scribbling down a sentence I heard, and sometimes those get written on into my pieces.
Oh,
Just those little snippets of thoughts that like what if or something that really strikes me. And will I know give direction to my work all the time.
okay.
So yeah,
So,
it's part of my process, honestly, to write on my pieces and
right.
underneath. Like you're not necessarily going to be able to see what it said, or I do it like in a way like I'll write with my non-dominant hand with my left hand, or I'll write like scribble backwards or just make it totally illegible
But yet
or
it still has it's still the essence of thought and a word and
right.
language.
It's like it's the reason I don't generally gesso my encaustic panels first, is because one, I like the wood grain, and two, I almost always start a new piece with just a graphite pencil and writing directly on the wood on the board, and then that gets waxed over. And so sometimes, because you can layer those clear, like do clear layer, like layers of medium, can't talk, um, in between colors or whatever, it builds up this actual depth. And so there are pieces there where you can see like underneath the pencil lines that were initially on the
Oh.
raw wood, and which that is the other thing that like grabbed me about this medium was that depth and being able to make those layers, and it gets
Mhm.
like
Kind
really
of build upon it.
soft and sort of luscious,
Ooh.
and it's like yeah, so you can build on that, and I can let parts peek through. And so yeah, you can often see all the way down to what was written on the bare wood underneath in the backgrounds, even in my like figurative pieces. I make
It
sure that that's
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
mhm.
And it's like, oh, that just explains so much. I mean, because I mean, it just it in a beautiful way because it's just like the depth of layers and the language and kind of switching it up, not being obvious about, yeah, but it's
Mhm.
there. It's just it speaks to kind of like a
Yeah.
snapshot of the moment versus it being rooted in the past, rooted in the
Mhm.
future. It's rooted in the present, and so it
Yeah.
gives it a timeless quality.
Uh, yeah,
See,
I think
I
so.
I pay
I
attention,
think that makes,
Kate. I know.
yeah.
I'm looking at your work, maybe. I'm looking at your work. I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. I'm in.
And it sets an intention too for me, because it's that whole like staring at a brand new blank piece of wood. Even if I just take a pencil and start like drawing this, like inscribing this line down it, and then like write things on it, that's it. It's no longer a big old blank thing. It's like, and words that I put in there they do tend to be specific and set a path for the work. So if I'm thinking about that thing that I scribbled on the board, that definitely informs my mark making, even if like I'm not making a piece that is visually going to say, oh yes, this was a quote from
This
this particular author,
author,
and this
right?
yeah. um but it's like it sets an intention for me so that I can then sort of fall into that process of intuitive mark making and building and like manipulating color, and so yeah, like all my works have an underpainting
Okay.
of some
Okay.
sort in that
Okay.
way.
All right.
Hmm.
See, oh, folks, when you
Yeah.
go, you see Kate Santucci's name to a work. Go listen to this podcast and then go back because it just that just helps. I mean, I just like think it's just it's beautiful work. It's visually captivating, so it draws you in. So now you know now why it draws me in. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
lots of layers, lots.
Lots of layers. I believe in that. I'm like, I just don't. It just can't be surface. You're not a
Right.
surface. It has to
I
be the
No,
depth of investigation.
mhm,
Yeah.
it's
So,
yeah.
oh,
Yep, I don't know what I was gonna say. But
so I had a question because the thing is, because this is something that happened to you recently. And this is the
Mhm.
reason why I was like, I got to get Kate on the podcast, because I saw the work. You went on an artist residence,
We did. Yeah.
and okay, you talk about it, because it's really
Okay.
special. Because I thought that was incredible and special, and I saw the work afterwards because it was hanging at the Dayton Society of Artists, and I was
Hmm.
blown away. Just
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
departure.
it was a departure for me for sure. Like as far as the work that came back from France. But I went to France. I went to artist residency at Chateau d'Orquevaux. So it's in Orquevaux, France. It's like up in the northeast quadrant of France, about halfway between Paris and uh, like the border of Germany, um, Strasbourg was about halfway between.
Okay.
Um, so out in the countryside, it was at an old chateau. It was 25 artists, and we all had our own studios. We all had our own rooms. It was just kind of an amazing experience. If I could go back I would just do it in a heartbeat. It was
Mm.
transformative. I mean, just because you're like life is so busy, and life in the last year has been kind of nuts, and I just like that was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks in September. I went from the 1st to the 14th of September 2025, and just total immersion. I did not have to feed myself. I did not have to think about anything. I got up in the morning, went to the chateau kitchen, and had this like, amazing breakfast. I came home and was like, "Where's my croissant?" I mean, just like every morning. Um, so like just an amazing experience. And then I went up to the studio and stayed all day. I just like totally like listened to music, didn't I didn't have to do it. Like I would sometimes go for walks around in the area around the village. But my studio windows opened up to the scene from like a fairy tale. I looked out and there was over this lake and this little French village and the church with the steeple in the background and cows out. I mean, it was hard to it was like, this can't be real. How am I here?
But the thing is, I'm kind of curious, like what possessed, for the change, like what made you apply?
I it was just a whim, honestly. I there are at least three other people from the area who have gone to this particular residency, other artists that I know. So yeah, I was like, okay, well, this is real. It's not a scam. You see things on Instagram, you're like, I don't know, this seems like
This is
crazy.
sketchy.
It's like sketchy,
This
right?
looks sketchy.
And
But it
I
wasn't.
was
It
like,
wasn't.
there was no fee to apply, so I just applied. And they sent my work, and I got back this letter. It was like, hey, welcome, you're in. And I just remember sitting there being stunned, and I'm like, oh, well, okay. And as a woman, I'm in my 50s, and I've never done anything like that before. At the time that I applied, I had never been to Europe, and so I was just kind of like stunned and also kind of terrified. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna do this? This is like this
Wow.
is scary. And I was like, I had to commit because one way or the other, because you have to put a down payment down for the residency fee. Um, and I looked at my husband. I'm like, I think I want to do this. And he's awesome. He's like my biggest cheerleader. He was like, you are absolutely gonna do this. Absolutely. Like pay
Go.
the go. So we made it happen. And I spent it was about a year and a half preparation, 2 years almost between when I applied and when I actually went. And in between that time, I did in fact go to Europe with a group of girlfriends. We went to Spain, which was great, and it was a good experience for like
That's kind of the
how to
primer.
travel,
How to
right?
travel to Europe,
How
which is a
right.
totally
And
different
then
beast, people, which is so much fun.
yeah, in September, end of August, I packed up my stuff by myself and all my art supplies, and I just I figured it out. So it was both terrifying and gratifying. And I got there, and it was one of the most worthwhile experiences of my life.
And it
So
showed in the work. And I mean, because the work was so, I just felt like I was like, oh, this is a free Kate.
yes.
It was
Oh
like,
yeah, totally.
oh, those like the multiple panels, and
Oh,
the
thank you.
the tower. Oh,
Yeah.
this beautiful color. So
Yes.
what inspired those? The imagery, it was
Well,
so not like the imagery. I saw elements of your old
mhm,
of your practice, but then I saw something completely different. So what was
right.
that? What was the inspiration
Well,
for that?
part of it was the actual physicality of the medium. I could not do encaustic in Europe. I didn't want to figure out materials and torches and hot plates. Like that was just not going to happen. I wasn't going to ship that stuff there. And also that just felt like a pain, like I move my studio just to halfway across the world. Instead, I was like, I'm just going to take this opportunity to do something completely different. I'm going to work in a medium that I don't work in. I'm going to work on materials I don't often use. Like, so I was like, it's going to be canvas and paper and acrylic based media and mixed media. Um,
Wow.
so part of that was like, just, I need to work something different. And if I'm going to do that and immerse myself, pardon me, then I'm going to take that time to just do whatever pops into my mind. So I brought a whole bunch of canvas. I brought large pieces of canvas. I stapled them to the wall when I got there, and I just was like, I still, I feel like have a tendency to work in those layers and stuff. So I was using like acrylic washes, and I still started with
Mhm.
like pencil on the surface. And oh, excuse me, I'm gonna cough here.
Welcome to
Ah,
Ohio. The
sorry.
weather.
Yeah,
No, I
right?
totally get it. Totally get it.
Hmm. Take a drink of water. So, yeah, so I was still like working in that way where I was starting with mark making on the raw material and then building up layers, but I was doing it with like acrylic washes. And then I had this canvas. I'm like, well, what if I made these small pieces? Well, what if I stitched them together? And I had brought this weird assortment of stuff with me. So my encaustic work, I sometimes include these little wax droplets, like that are in the work themselves. I have some sculptural encaustic pieces that have these like wax linen threads with like droplets. I dip them basically like candles. And I made this huge bundle of them and took them with me because I'm like, who knows? Maybe I want those. Um, and I had this wax linen thread with me. So I stitched all these pieces together and started like thinking like, well, what if I had this big long piece that started at the ceiling and trailed across the floor, which I still envision it kind of that way, but it wasn't practical to hang it that way at the Dayton Art Institute or even in the studio that I was in France. So I started playing with like sort of tacking it up in sort of waves and letting things
Mhm.
flow. So that was all like based on material itself. And then I feel like that work that I was doing there, because I had the size canvas and the space on the wall like that to work freely, I was really kind of working with as much physical movement as I could. So like the big arches and stuff was about
Mhm.
like I could move my entire arm from one side to the other and to like to really sort of
Create that
to yes.
sense of
And then
motion and yeah.
yeah, I wanted that movement and motion in there. And I was also, it's just like, it seems like for everyone in the last 5, 6 years, just we've all had a lot going on and carrying a lot. And so I was just working through stuff that happened. And so I've been thinking a lot about tangling and untangling process and thoughts. And so what started coming out of this were these marks that were like these knotted sort of uh line work that and on the piece that I had stitched together, they all connect to one another. So like
Mhm.
if you could at the bottom pull that string, maybe it would unknot, maybe it would be this one giant snarl right in the middle, but like I wanted those images of the knots to sort of like lead from one to the other. So I feel like those pieces are all about sort of untangling all sorts of things,
All sorts of things.
process,
Yes.
emotion. Like I lost like both my brother-in-law and father-in-law within 3 weeks of each other in 2022, and it was just dark, right? It was a bad
Yeah.
time. So we spent a few years like dealing with that, and life goes on. You've got to just keep going, and
Right.
that being in that space gave me the time to really start to like process some of
Those
that was going
feelings
on.
and what does it
Yeah,
all
yeah,
mean? Because
right.
you can't. I was thinking when you were talking about that, I was thinking about something I said to someone. You can't have the light without the dark.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
can't. And so I'm a I'm I'm a little mistrustful of anyone who's walking around with rainbows and sunshines all the time. And
Oh, right.
people accuse me of that. I'm like, oh no, there's a dark side. Don't worry. Don't worry. There's darkness in here.
Yeah.
There's
I
darkness in my heart. Don't worry.
I struggle to not always have my art be a little dark, but like that is my tendency to start to sort of like go over to that side, and like dark in color and dark in. So yeah, I don't know.
But this was
Yeah,
but
I
it
had
just
the physical space
dude
to work that out. Like I had stuff all over the floor
floor
and my
and
music on and a glass of wine, and I was just like have my little paint and cry.
the
No one's
best.
gonna bother me.
No,
You know?
I'm gonna work this out. The door's closed. No one's gonna
Right.
like, hey Kate, what's going on? What's happening? No, no, no,
Yeah, it's
leave it
like
alone.
can't right now. I'm like too busy painting and crying. But but I kind of feel like that is really important. Like it is my experience that when I have pieces that you really truly pour yourself into, like you really are feeling a lot of whatever it is, and you're working on that piece, like people see that, they can tell. It's like
They can sense it. They can
you did
sense it.
not phone that in, right? It's like
Mhm.
you really were in it. And so had that opportunity while I was there for 2 weeks to really be in it the whole time. Um, I feel like really informed the work that and my color palette, which was sort of place based because I was in France. I'm like, I'm gonna go with
The
looking
color,
around at what the color of
which
what's around me. And so it had a little bit of a landscapey vibe. I in that
thank you. That's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't consider myself, I'm not a landscape artist.
No, no, by any means. It wasn't like
But
it wasn't literal landscaping, but it was
right,
landscape-esque.
yes.
And
That
it was
the
landscape
show.
informed. Landscape
Mhm.
informed.
Yeah, and so actually called that show when I hung it Landscape Adjacent. That was the title of the
Yeah.
show.
Yes.
So
There you go. Yeah.
yeah,
It's coming
because it's
back.
like I
Yeah.
was in this new landscape and I was like, I wanted the colors that I used like I had a very limited palette. I was like, I'm gonna use this particular green and paint like Hooker's green and Payne's gray and ochre, and I just kept it like to a
Kinda
pretty specific palette. Yeah.
to serve as kind of like this moment, and in many ways it serves as that all the work from that period serves as this kind of capsule,
Hmm.
encapsulates it encapsulates. And so I just thought it was like, I thought it was brilliant. I love the fact that the DSA showed it. I
Oh,
was like,
I was so grateful. And it was, for me, like I got a grant to help fund that. So I got one of the Montgomery County Arts and Culture District Culture Works grants. And so that was part of my agreement was that I gave an artist talk about the trip and about the residency experience and about the work. And then I got to hang my show and leave it there. It was up for a couple of months,
mhm,
which
it
was
was.
great. And now that it's down, I'm actually continuing to do like that series of work. So those large
Really
canvas panels.
good.
I just don't feel done with that yet. I mean, I'm still working in encaustic. I will always
Oh,
come back to
absolutely. You
encaustic 'cause
always,
I love it. But
it just is.
I'm kind of I'm continuing those. I don't feel finished yet with those panels and that that thing. So I'm just building a body of work in canvas on as large as I can manage to get it.
I love
That's the plan.
that. I love that you said it's my largest I could get it. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just as a fanboy, I'm going to say to you, yay! I'm very
Yeah.
because that was one of my questions. I'm like, is this going to lead to kind of exploring more in this way? Because, like I said,
Mhm.
your encaustics are fabulous. They're phenomenal. There's
Yeah, thank you.
sublimeness.
Thanks.
There's a sublime that I love about them, and so now you've got this other pathway, and
Yeah.
so I just find it really amazing that you'd never been to Europe. You did it on
Yeah.
a whim. I mean,
Mhm.
taking chances like that, and I mean, are you not? Are you? I mean, what I like I said, it's like this taking a chance just kind of frees you up, and I'm just kind of curious what you would say to people who may let this kind of thing hold them back, like, what
Oh,
would you tell people? Like, I'm all
yeah.
in, I'm all in on an adventure. And there
Yeah.
we go.
I I would say that, it's like don't wait. Like I was afraid I was going to be the oldest person there, and that I was like, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like the grandma in this group of 20-year-olds, and I wasn't at all. First of all, like like the total diversity of age range, backgrounds, like all over, and it was fantastic. So don't worry about that. And then I would also say, just like, you've I feel like you've got to just take this step forward. It was terrifying. I am an anxious traveler, period. I had never, like, I had to get to Paris and figure out the metro system and figure out all my stuff and everything, and it was scary, but you just do it. I wanted the experience more than I was afraid of the experience, right? So
Oh,
it
that's
was
very
like,
true.
if I needed, I just I felt like if I had this opportunity on the table, it was offered to me, and I didn't take it, that I would spend the rest of my life going like, oh, well, why didn't I ever do that? And why didn't I take this when it was offered to me? And um yeah, so I don't know. It was like, in retrospect, people were like, "Oh my gosh, you were so brave to do that." And I was like, well, I guess I was. I don't know. I was just like, I committed, and then I committed, and once I have money down, it's over. I'm going. That's just, I don't
It's like I've invested
I
hard
have
cash,
invested in this.
currency has
Yeah.
gone into this. Yeah.
No, I was just like, I am going to follow through. And even if it is really scary to do the travel part of it. And it was whole trains, planes, and automobiles things. I did it. I traveled, and I actually went early and ended and stayed longer. So I was gone for an entire month. I went for my 2-week residency, and then I got on the train and just kept going east and went to visit friends in Venice and Murano, and then Croatia. And then I came home.
Wow. And then you came home.
And then I came home. If I was going to go, I was going to take advantage of everything that I could while I was there. So I got to travel and see
Wow.
a lot of art. And in Murano and Venice, my friend said I was there. She's a glass artist, and we were there during Murano Glass Week. So that
Oof.
was like just
Oof.
insane. It was beautiful. And then we went back to their place they live in Motovun, Croatia, and I did a little workshop with her in her glass studio. I'm terrible at it, by the way. Glass work's really hard. The
Yes, I
learning
find
curve is really steep.
that is a
Oh
real
my,
thing.
oh my gosh. I was like in awe, but yeah, so it was, I mean, it was just such an amazing opportunity. And I really do think that as an artist, if you can, like, it doesn't have to be out of the country, but if you can apply for a residency anywhere, even if it's just like a short one, like, it is such a gift to yourself, that freedom of time and space, that freedom to shut the door and paint and cry if you need to, or just, and to work outside of your normal,
Yeah.
space. Because it's like, when you're in a new place, new ideas do occur. And I gave myself total permission to follow the what ifs, to be like, well, what if I tried this? Or what if I did this? And, like, I don't know, it feels like a more freeing space to give yourself permission to make make bad art, like, I think we're awfully hard on ourselves about, and I tend to be like perfectionist, anxious. It's like, well, this isn't good enough, and I don't want anybody to see this. And it's like, no, you have to keep making the art, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad or whatever. And so that's a great environment to do that. Like, I,
Right.
if like someone was going to say, well, should I take this time to continue working on this body of work I've started at home? I'd encourage you to like not just to go and work on something completely different, because
Yeah.
when else are you going to get that time and space to do that? So
That that's the best advice I could think anyone could
yeah.
ever give. I mean, it's my personal philosophy as well. It's like,
Mm,
there's it does something to you that then have the time to unpack what it's done to you. And so I think that's what's going to
yeah.
be, to me, that's what's personally exciting about this effect, and knowing that you're going to continue going down that pathway and stuff like the acoustics. But
Yeah.
then I get to see
Hmm.
where they bleed together, and then I
Yeah.
see where they break apart.
Yeah.
And the liberation of Kate. I think
Yeah.
that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Just from an
It feels like
outsider's
that.
perspective.
It feels like that to me too. I mean, and it is freeing, because you start to think of yourself as, oh, I'm a whatever this box is. I'm an encaustic artist. I am a sculptor. I am it's like, well, you're an artist. So like, I do see the value in having a consistent body of work. Like if you have a gallerist or whatever, it's like it should look like your work. But I do think it looks like my work. It just looks like these are my canvas pieces. These are my, I don't know.
It's
That's
just
just my 2 cents.
it was a perfectly valid 2 cents, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm so delighted that we got to
Oh,
share this
me,
time together on the
me too.
podcast.
This has been so fun. And I like love getting to chat with you. And I was thinking about that, like, that opportunity to, like you were talking about, to chat with other artists and talk about our process.
Yeah,
And like that there just needs to be like some salons, like some formal, like some parties or gatherings
just
where we get together
and just don't,
for
yeah, just let it go.
just
Let
talk
it.
about art and and like, yeah, I love hearing that when I
Oh
talk
my
to other
god,
artists. And especially when you're talking about, like, you have different artists, like you have visual artists, and you have
dancers
dancers,
and
and you've got
photographers,
like
musicians.
writers, and yeah,
Yes, yes.
salons. We need salons in Dayton. Somebody
All
needs to
right.
make that happen.
Hopefully, someone will listen to this and they'll make that happen.
Yeah, like,
But
have a salon. Yes.
yes, I
Yeah.
love it.